Now let's look at irrigation systems specifically. There are different types of irrigation systems. There's agricultural, landscape irrigation, which could be commercial landscape or residential types. We're going to talk about the degree of hazard in irrigation and then also the jurisdiction. So agriculture, probably the biggest use of irrigation is agriculture. So we have different types of irrigation that can be used in agriculture. A flood irrigation, maybe, or a ditch irrigation. Here you see the sort of the ditch with water flowing through it. Looks like it's siphoned down into lower areas there, or yeah, just like a siphon there where it drains into these lower areas there. That is certainly something. Often these, not always, but often these are, this uses well water, which is fine because that doesn't deal with your potable drinking water system. If there's a tie-in from the well system to the potable water system, then yeah, then you need to look at backflow protection at that point, because the well pump could actually create pressure higher than the distribution system pressure. You could have different sprinkler systems. This type here, where it actually sort of hangs above there and then rolls along. You may have a pivoting type like this, where they go and they spray over there. Now, often with agricultural irrigation systems, you have chemigation or fertilization that's added to the irrigation water. That in itself is obviously a problem and a concern. You did years ago have something called, I don't think these are around anymore, to be honest, but there was a chemigation backflow preventer, sort of with a check valve and an air inlet valve, or vacuum relief valve, and an inspection port so you could check them. Some of these were not inline testable or repairable even, I think. Definitely not, yeah, you'd have to take it out of line to do any repairs on it. But I don't think you see a lot of these around anymore. I couldn't really find any information of this that are current. So, but this is something you may come across if you come across an old area that has something in line. There's a chemigation backflow preventer. They were used because it was just cheaper and lower pressure loss. But again, some designs were not inline repairable. So again, let's go back here. For agricultural irrigation, you're almost always going to need to go with an RP, because even in a situation like this, you're probably going to be adding, very often can add chemicals or fertilizer to these systems. Even though this may look like it's an air gap spraying water from above, if you're adding stuff to that water, which you probably will, it's the easiest way to get fertilizer or insecticides, any type of chemicals you need onto the system, probably going to be added in there. So again, flood irrigation, the sprinklers, the center pivot, whatever it is, for agricultural, you're likely going to be seeing situations where chemicals are added or can be added. If you're the cross condition control specialist and they can be added, that's sort of, that's going to be your judgment call. What do you do? The potential is there. So do you require the backflow preventer? So if maybe they're not adding it today, but maybe they decide to add it next week, but you've got a backflow preventer on there. Again, if you're using well water and there's no interconnection between the well water and the potable water system, if you're talking about protecting your potable water system, then you don't really care. If there is well water and you've got your potable water system attached, then you're looking at protection simply because they've got well water there, where you don't have control of the quality of that water. Okay, landscape irrigation systems, they can be sprinkler systems, drip, subsurface systems. This is a typical landscape irrigation. You'll probably see something like this at golf courses often have big sprayers with it. Maybe they have it under high pressure, where, because they don't want to have sprinklers every 10 feet, they want to have them far separated apart. Or like even at the Coliseum where USC plays their football games, it uses a natural turf. Yeah, they have sprinklers, but they're on the side. They're not out in the field. They're very high power, high pressure to irrigate those lawns. So these are, typical for a golf course, probably something like this, probably with a larger throwing radius. Home irrigation, you may find something like this or this. Drip irrigation. This is something that's become very popular where the water just sort of seeps. It just drips very small amounts to keep the area irrigated so that you have water to the, the plants or the landscaping, however you're using it. There are just small trickles of water continually come out and keep the water moist, the soil moist. And then subsurface, where basically you have the same sort of thing you might have here, except it's under the ground. So again, in these situations, we want to look at is there a hazard here if we're not using chemicals or fertilizer? Now, I think we see a problem here because, of course, if your water is, if your water line is underground and it's got an opening to the surrounding ground area, any contaminants on the ground could soak down in and get into that water system. So that is certainly a concern. Same thing here, as water can, if water pools around one of these areas, debris gets in there or back siphonage occurs, whatever's near these openings can be siphoned in. Again, that's going to be a concern. I would certainly look at that as a health hazard because of whatever could be on the surrounding ground, could be anything.